Hola, hola. My name is Ricardo. I am the host of the Lucha Jovers podcast here in the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. We are a Spanish speaking show dedicated to discussing and analyzing pro wrestling from all across the world. From AW to CMLL, we talk about American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and of course, Lucha Libre. If something big happened in the pro wrestling world, we will talk about it. So if you know Spanish or have a friend that knows Spanish or want to practice your lucha libre pronunciations, go listen to the Lucha Jovers podcast right here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Nos vemos por ahí.
Hello, Voices of Wrestling listener. Dave Ryan here. Have you ever wondered to yourself how many hidden gems are hidden away inside the last years of World Championship Wrestling? Have you ever asked yourself how many tenuous gags can be made about the name Mike Enos? And have you ever thought about what it sounds like for two Irishmen to interpret a very chaotic company through its B show? The answers to all this and more are just a click away. Check out Days of Thunder every second Thursday on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome to Jumping Bomb Audio.
Everyone, and welcome back to Jumping Bomb Audio, the number one show all about the world of Joshi Pro Wrestling. My name is Taylor, and I am joined, as always, by the Barbie to my Oppenheimer. It's Kelly.
Taylor, are you zeeting? You zeeting?
I'm not zeeting or cheating or creeting or whatever the pronunciation of the word is.
Yeah, I'm gonna, I might go zeet right now. Who's to say?
Although I guess I did zeet earlier today to tell the people that this episode was delayed by one day.
That's true, you did.
But I don't know if that was pre the official switchover or post.
A real newsworthy zeeting.
It was pretty early in the day.
Oh, love a good early zeet.
Remember like 4 months ago when I made a joke as I was plugging our Twitter?
Our
what do you call it now? Our X handle?
Yeah.
Joking that like it was going to go away and now we're dealing with this stupid bullshit. In many ways, I wish it would sort of go away and then we could just say, follow us on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
At whatever, however the heck that works. But as Kelly mentioned, you can follow us on Twitter or the newly christened X at JBombAudio. You can follow Kelly at Comic Geek Kelly and me at Taymambo.
We gonna see
if you're among the hangers on who can't let it all go. It does feel weirdly like this is really the end.
Yeah, this is somehow more so than the website just not working.
Well, because now it feels like, oh, well, I'm on Twitter because I know Twitter, but now it's like not even Twitter. So why not go somewhere else?
Yeah.
That I don't know. There's just something where it's like, oh, Twitter actually isn't a thing anymore, even though to get there you still type in twitter.com. But
I don't think you can do just x.com and get there.
I'm going to try it right now. And if you don't hear from me, something's gone terribly wrong.
You're going to be on a porn site for sure.
Yeah, if you currently go to x.com, my web browser says it's not secure, but it is currently a GoDaddy
Okay.
page that says x.com is parked free, courtesy of GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy is not a sponsor of this podcast. So he doesn't even own the URL?
I guess not.
You think that would be a thing? You'd be like, oh, we're going to do this. Make sure we, that redirects.
Legitimately just one of the dumbest people to ever live.
I just thought about today the change from Twitter to X. The amount of money that has been spent to do it is probably more than most people will make in one full year of work.
Oh, easy.
Where you're like, just money being wasted.
Yep.
Money that could go to this podcast. And speaking of sending money to this podcast, you can donate to this show at redcircle.com/shows/jumping-bomb-audio. We always appreciate if you subscribe to this podcast on your podcast app of choice. And if that app of choice happens to be Apple Podcasts, we would really appreciate a 5-star rating and review. The first time I've ever done the plugs in a different order. So who knows what's going to happen on the show? It could get real wild.
It's wild, crazy guys. Zeeting and zooting everywhere.
We're going to be talking the 5-Star Grand Prix Night 1. We're going to talk some Tokyo Princess Cup and a lot of other things. Some live Joshi that I saw. We'll be talking that shortly. But first, let's kick it off with the opening night of the Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix from July 23rd at Ota City General Gymnasium in front of 1,747 fans. Kelly, what were your thoughts on this show overall?
This show fucking rocked. Like, this was a great show. This easily better than all of the G1 nights so far. Like, this was a killer show.
I have not watched any of the G1, so I can't do a comparison, but I also thought this was a great show. Really loved it. I thought that it really moved, when the show...
Yes.
When I was first getting into the show, my big fear was like, oh my God, we have a lot of matches. The show's going to go like 5.5 hours. And I'm going to be like, But there was really no match that I can think of where I was sitting there thinking, why is this still why is this still going? Like, end this match. Most matches ended quicker than I thought they would, as opposed to going too long, but a lot of very good matches on this show.
What do you think of the opening? Like the opening video with the ring as like a video cube?
Oh boy. Well, let me tell you, because I have notes. I have notes even before the first match.
Same.
I understand, putting it on the scrim. I thought, okay, you're going to put this on a scrim. Could you not have ironed the scrim or made it not look like sort of like a wrinkled bed sheet that you were holding, like doing shadow puppets in your living room of here it goes. The thing that annoyed me most is I was like, okay, it's a scrim. That's fine. The whole point of doing that is I thought, okay, they're going to show this video. They're showing all the people that are going to be in the 5-Star Grand Prix. And then clearly the scrim is going to drop and all the people will be there.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. They turned the lights off. And then I guess they put the scrim down and then they turned the lights back on and all the people were there. And I was like, why did you have a scrim if you were going to turn all the lights off? Like, the effect is, it's a scrim and the scrim drops, really dramatically, like,
yeah.
And then all the people are standing there.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. So I was like, why not? Why didn't you just have a video screen turn the lights off and have the video screen move up.
Yeah, like the video cube effect was cool. I do think when they got to like the main video part for the TV version, they should have just cut the video into the feed rather than having us watch the screen.
Yeah, I also felt bad for the people who had to hold awkward poses for,
Yes.
19 other wrestlers to be introduced as they're standing in the ring with like their hand up. And I was like, oh, very good um, muscle control or whatever you want to call it. And
Tom was very impressive how she just stood there and didn't move.
it was also funny as people were introduced and sort of went back into the uh, onto the risers or wherever they were. Some people, came out, they were looking at the camera, they were sort of gesturing, doing things, and some people were like introduced and they just sort of turned and walked to the back. It was like no interaction. I'm just going where I need to go. I'm in the ring, now I'm out of the ring and I'm going. And I was like, okay. Slightly less interesting.
I did think the opening got a little less cool when they had the Starverse ad later in the show and they recreated it in the ad, and I was like, oh, this was just an ad for your fucking NFTs, wasn't it?
Well, I finally figured out that the graphics in the Starverse ad look like characters from GoldenEye, the GoldenEye video game, when you would play multiplayer, because it's like that like round head shape with like the face printed on the front,
Yes.
like a flat face on the front.
Yup.
And you'd like
That
run
is
up to
exactly
people.
what that is.
And I was like, that's what it is. Seeing it the second time where I wasn't like blown away by being like, what's happening? Because I think it was the same exact ad. Because they cut away at one point to Super Stardom Machine doing something. And I was like, I've seen this before. I think last time. But that was my real cue. I was like, yep, this is Nintendo 64 style graphics.
Shit, they should just put out GoldenEye, but you can play as everyone from Stardom.
Instead of with like guns, you have to run up to people and like suplex them.
Yeah. Or no. Well, it'll you get squirt guns.
Oh yeah, that would be good. But I was thinking like when you would play slappers only, but instead of slappers only, it would be suplexes only.
There you go. Yeah.
Just running around the what were the levels? The Aztec tomb. Wasn't there an Aztec tomb or something there?
Probably.
The Russian missile silo. But anyway, in terms of the show itself, the show opened with a pre-show gauntlet 6-person tag team match. The trio of Mai Sakurai, Mei Sierra, and Tekla defeating Hanako, Saki Kashima, and Yuna Mizumori, Koguma, Momokoga, and Saya Ida, and Hina, Lady C, and Miyu Amasaki. I didn't see this match. Kelly, I'm assuming you didn't either.
I didn't either, but now I kind of want to see it because that's what 1, 2, 3 matches technically in a less than 10 minutes. Like that, the
3
pace
minutes
on
a
that
match.
has to be insane.
Move through it. Well, speaking of 3-minute matches, the first match of this year's 5-star Grand Prix, what I'm sure will one day be a trivia question, Micah defeating Hanan in 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Kelly, what did you think of the opening match of the 5-star Grand Prix 2023?
I thought this rocked. Just a killer kind of no nonsense opener that was a good sprint. I went 3.5 stars. I like this a lot.
I liked it. It was very short, so I didn't go that high just because it was less than 4 minutes long. I went 2.5. I thought very solid match. I thought Hanan looked really good here. I like a lot of her offense. I like the running. Famouser that she does, and I think she's got some interesting stuff there. Um, but it was sort of a match where I was like, oh, this is pretty fun, and then it was over. Shorter than I thought, but then I thought, okay, well, you got to squeeze in, how many matches into this show. So it makes sense to get the opening match over and done very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Then, after the match, a ton of announcements about upcoming shows. On August 19th, there will be a show they announced. Momoe Nakanishi and Nanae Takahashi will team up once more with X. And I'm not talking about Twitter,
Oh, they're
but
gonna
I'm
Z.
talking about a mystery wrestler. That trio will face off against Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, and Double X.
Oh, I can't wait for them to team up with the Super Elon Musk machine.
Also announced they will be having a Dream Tag Team Tournament. The teams announced for that: Mayu Iwatani and Saki Kashima, Utami and Maika, Nanae Takahashi and Ruaka, Natsupoi and Sayori Ano, Hazuki and Natsukatora, Momo Watanabe and Momo Kogo, the Momos, Mirai and Mai Sakurai, Hanan and Mariah May, Saya and Mina, Rina and Hina, naturally, Starlight Kid and Azumi, and Julia and Suzu Suzuki. So that will be coming up, as well as the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, as always, starting in October, on October 15th and ending November 12th. And finally, and maybe, in my mind, the most intriguing announcement
Yes.
of all, Stardom announced Halloween Dark Nights Horror House,
Hell yeah.
which will which will be happening on October 29th. What is it? Your guess is as good as mine. I would assume there will be maybe some spooky stuff.
I hope it's big and stupid. That's all I want.
Maybe some costume. Maybe they'll bring back the some of the costume battle
Get the
royal
bounce
stuff
house
they used
back
to
out
do.
there.
Yeah, maybe a pumpkin bounce house.
Yeah.
And maybe some blood.
Yeah.
That's a Halloween thing. So we will have to see, but that will be coming at the end of October. But back to this show, the next match in the 5-Star Grand Prix saw a bit of a shocker. Mariah May defeating Azumi in 6 minutes and 51 seconds. Probably the most, well, maybe not the most shocking result, but a little bit of a shocking result, as Mariah May, had to fight her way into the 5-Star Grand Prix and gets a win over Azumi. I thought Mariah more than held her own in this match. I thought it was really good. I very much enjoyed it. I went 3.5 stars. My one big question was there was the apron power bomb where Mariah went over and went to powerbomb Azumi and then sort of held onto her, picked her up, and then powerbombed her. And I wasn't sure whether that was Mariah trying to make sure Azumi didn't break her neck, or if I had missed a story beat or something of oh, Azumi fought out of it and then got powerbombed anyway.
No, because I made note of that too. It is definitely, she realized she was gonna dump Azumi right on the top of her head, so she kind of just pulled back and was like, "All right, we're gonna save this spot and do it right," which I think is super impressive and showed a ton of just awareness and poise there. That she could have hurt Azumi pretty bad, but you know what? She fixed it, and I loved this match. I went 4 stars. I thought it was a really good high energy match. I am ready to dump all of my money into Mariah May stock.
I mean, who would have thought, really?
Yeah.
Um, someone I didn't know, someone Kelly I think you didn't know anything about,
Nope. Didn't know
um,
anything.
and has looked very good and looked very good here.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit lower than you, but not surprised about your 4 stars because I thought it was a very enjoyable match. The next match was Natsuko Tora defeating Ami Sourei in 4 minutes and 48 seconds. My shocking opinion on this is I was actually sitting there thinking, actually, I'm sort of enjoying this match, this Natsuko Tora match, whose matches I usually do not enjoy. I was like, oh, how shocking. This is actually quite enjoyable. And then the shenanigans started, and I was right back out again.
Yeah.
I was like that Simpsons grandpa meme with the, put the hat on, walk in,
Yep.
put the hat back on, and leave. That was
Yep.
sort of me, especially because it was only 4 minutes, 48 seconds. Like the first 3 minutes I was into, then the shenanigans started, and I was like, nope, I'm out again.
Yeah.
This was my least favorite. This was my least favorite match on the show. I went 2 stars.
I think I went Gentleman's 3 just because they kept it mercifully short. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I went 3 on it just because I was like, yep, it was under 5 minutes.
I was just like, oh, so it is possible for me to like this, but it will never happen because those frickin' shenanigans will always really, they'll always come in, and I won't like them. I don't like them. There we go. But a change of pace. The next match, Natsupoi defeating Starlight Kid in 7 minutes and 23 seconds. Kelly, your thoughts?
Taylor, we got to talk first. What do you think of Starlight Kid's new look?
My first note on this match was, oh, very weird Starlight Kid mask. I was just sort of
Yeah.
thrown off by like the Hayabusa style. It was just strange because her hair was, it felt like it wasn't, what am I trying to say about her hair? It felt like it
It was
wasn't
new.
styled. It felt like it wasn't styled in a way that was like, oh, cool, you can see her hair. It was just sort of felt like, oh, the top of her mask is missing and her hair is just sort of all over the place.
Yeah, because she cut her hair way shorter than it was before, and then cut the top off the mask too. My theory is that this is like a summer look because it's always hot as hell in Japan in the summer. So maybe she's just like, you know what? What if I chop my hair off and then now I have the top of my head clear from the mask so I can get some heat out?
I'm not opposed to the mask. Like most of the mask looks the same except there's no top, but it just felt
Yeah.
very much like not of a whole. It felt
No,
like,
it
oh,
didn't.
I'll do this with my mask. Oh, what am I going to do with my hair? I don't know. I'll do this thing.
Yeah, it needs some work. I like the idea, but it needs a little bit of work.
But could be a first sort of, you get a new look, you try it out, and then you
Yeah.
tweak it.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll come back and maybe it'll be like, ooh,
Yeah.
very cool. Well, Kelly, I have a question for you
Yes.
back about this match. And my question is, it is weird that people, this is sort of the second show in a row with a match where people are being repeatedly like dumped on their heads
A lot of it, yeah.
to very little reaction. Like, isn't that weird? Like, isn't that sort of strange?
Yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
don't
well, it's another
entirely know.
Natsupoi. Like, is it Natsupoi?
Yeah, I don't know. Cause and you know what? This match didn't really land that well for. I liked it. I went 3.5 on it, but I kind of expected more.
Oh, well, that's interesting because I really like this match. We're reversing the previous, or not the previous match, Jesus, 2 matches ago, because I went
Yes.
4 stars.
Oh.
I just thought it was, I love the, longtime listeners will know how I feel about the long, drawn out strike exchanges, and they sort of changed that up. They did the really fast, like boom, 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 back and forth, which I really liked. They dropped each other on their heads a bunch, and it was very fast paced. High speed match. I liked a lot of the pinning combinations and reversals. I thought they were all very smooth, and so I really liked it.
I wonder if everyone is just down on Melt here like I am, but they're like, well, we still like Tom. So I guess we got to take it all out on Natsupoi and sit there in silence during her matches.
It's just strange because then at other points they do sort of react, but I'm like, wow, there's someone like going right on the top of their heads, and people are just sort of like clap, 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 clap. And I'm like, wouldn't be my reaction.
The Stardom crowd is fascinating to me.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe your theory about that people, but also it could just be that, I don't know, maybe I'm a person who, like, it's funny because this is a very large tangent, but um, I have a friend who, in the past few months, I have sort of gotten into wrestling
Okay.
very sort of minorly. She went with me to an AEW uh, Dynamite episode live, and we've been to 2 GCW shows, is what we've done. And you do notice, like, the things that I think longtime wrestling fans sort of are like, whoa, that's crazy, are not the things that new fans think are crazy. Like, the thing that really blows my friend's mind is like chops. Like
Okay.
every chop, she's like, I can't believe this. I can't believe it. But like someone gets like dropped on their head and she's just like, oh, interesting. So I don't know. Maybe it's that they do have a lot of fans and like, I don't know if it's a disconnect where you're coming in being like, it's all fake. And so you figure, oh, they're like landing on their head, but it's fine because they're prepped. I don't really
They
know.
have helmets on under their hair, and the mat is actually soft.
But I'm like, maybe that's it. Maybe Stardom got a bunch of new fans, and the fans like don't are just sort of like, oh yeah, that's part of a match. Like, oh, a suplex, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like a move. I don't
Yeah,
know,
I think there's something to that for sure.
just a theory, but it was the second time in a row because we talked about it for the strap match where they did the big suplex sequence that didn't really get any reaction, and now it's like, oh, here it is again. And it isn't like the crowd was dead silent for the rest of the show. They did react to other stuff. So it's just sort of like, that's an interesting thing that's
Well, and they
happening.
even
Because I'm like,
reacted. They even reacted to like suplex exchanges later in the show. So it's I don't know.
well, something to keep an eye on.
Natsupoi, why'd you upset everybody?
That's boy, I like you. I was sitting on my couch going, ooh, ooh. Fly me out to a Stardom show, and I'll sit in the
Yeah.
crowd and go, ah.
Yeah, what if we just become like the cheerleaders? Yeah. We'll be the Stardom cheerleaders and we teach everyone how to cheer for the wrestlers.
Oh, like the New Japan video with Jushin Thunder
Yeah.
Liger dressed as a cop or whatever it was.
Yes. Yeah, that can just be us. We'll go around to like we'll be in the arena before the show and we'll sit down next to everybody and tell them like, "All right, here's what you got to do." And then they'll be like, "We can't understand you." And we'll say, "I don't know what you're saying." And then we'll keep on going and eventually everyone will cheer.
Yes. Well, not even cheer, just react to someone being put in danger of injury. The next match on the show was the returning Utami returning from the United States, defeating Mina Shirakawa in 12 minutes and 48 seconds. Kelly, I will let you go first.
I thought this was great. This is another 4-star match for me. Another kind of just I want to say like stereotypical hard hitting Utami match, but it kind of was, and it's cool seeing how far Mina has come that she can just do that kind of match like it's nothing now and just crap out a great match. So I was very happy with this one. What about you?
I thought that I was sort of sitting there thinking, okay, this is fine, probably like 3.5 stars. And then Utami hit the, I don't remember what the move was, but she hit the bridge and then had to let go of it because of her neck. And I was sort of like, oh, that's interesting. Like, what's going to happen here? And then it feels like right after that, they like kicked it into another gear, and it was very hard hitting, like lots of big moves, really well paced. So then all of a sudden I was like, yeah, I'm into this. So I ended up going 4.25 stars.
Nice.
Because I thought it really picked up. It was like that moment. I was all of a sudden like, oh, that's really interesting. And then they really went to it. I liked that. Um, the move was Utami couldn't hold the bridge because of the neck work with the DDTs, and that she didn't then go back to something that would like require her neck, which sometimes happens when that, like, sometimes someone's like, oh, I can't do it, my neck. And then 2 minutes later, they're doing like a headstand, uh, which they didn't do, which was great. And I thought it was a really strong match and the best match of the show so far.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
Then, of course, the true main event, the Starverse ad played after this match. The moment when I figured out, it reminded me of GoldenEye, which I wrote in all caps on my notes. The next match saw Momo Watanabe gaining 2 points, defeating Mirai in 9 minutes and 56 seconds. Thought Momo looked really good here. Thought she was like her old self at the end when she kicked Mirai directly in the face.
Yeah.
And then hit the Peach Sunrise. A match that I really enjoyed. My biggest note is that, Mirai does a lot of very cool things. She has good offense, but I'll, be a broken record here. I cannot bring myself to care about her. I'm like, ooh, she did a bridge at one point where her face was fully facing down into the mat. And I was like, damn, that's like amazing flexibility. That's really cool. But I'm just sort of like, I don't know, the clapping and the, but I went 3.75.
Yeah, this one struggled to grab me for whatever reason. I think it is partially I just don't care about Mirai at all, but so I only went 3.25 on it, but yeah, Momo kicking her in the head was really cool.
Enjoy it now. I would imagine Momo will not win another match for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, probably not.
I was like, yeah, she won, which was great, but a little bittersweet.
Somewhere Aaron burst into applause and didn't know why.
The next match, Shuri defeating Suzu Suzuki in 11 minutes and 2 seconds. The big spot of the match, the suplex off the apron where Shuri just went straight down.
Insane.
Like a rock. Like a stone. Like, I was like, oh, she's going to go flying. And then they did it and she was like straight down. And I was like, oh my God.
No, just these two maniacs just beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah, I thought this was excellent. Another great match. I mean, Suzu is so good. Uh, just really quickly paced, not in the sort of high speed way, but it was just sort of like nonstop action for 11 minutes. This is what I was talking about, where I'm like, this was so good. It was 11 minutes. Feel like it didn't feel like 11 minutes, but it didn't feel, what am I trying to say here? Like it ended and I was like, yeah, that was great. And I didn't think, oh, I wish that would have gotten like 10 more minutes, because I felt like they really packed um, the stuff in and like didn't need to go longer. Um,
Yeah, for what it was perfect.
but I was like, this is great. I wasn't sitting there thinking like, I wish I could see that, see them more, see it again. I was just like, hey, that was a great match. Awesome. Another good match. I went 4.25 stars.
I was 4.5 on this one. I fucking loved it. It was so good.
Yeah, a couple of these, especially near the top, I was um, sort of like, I know this 4.5. I was like, 4 or 4.25. I was like, is it 4.5? I couldn't decide. And my rule is always, if I'm thinking about it and I can't decide, I go with the lower rating. So
Yeah, that's a good policy.
could have been at the 4.5. So I'm right there with you, but uh, ended up going 4.25. But a great match, and I think Suzu's going to be one of those. Not everyone has this, but one of those where it's like every match that they have in this tournament, I'm going to be excited for it, and I think it's going to be good, because I think Suzu has a lot to like come out and be like, hey, I'm going to be really good, and I'm going to impress people and sort of like make my name in this tournament. So looking forward to all her matches.
She should make Tora do some deathmatch shit, because that might actually be good.
Well, she could do it with Tom, because Tom's the one who's done the deathmatch matches in Stardom before.
There we go.
Who knows? Maybe on what's the show called? Maybe on Halloween Dark Nights Stardom Horror House. Anything's possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
The next match, Mayu Iwatani defeating Hazuki in 13 minutes and 2 seconds. Kelly, your thoughts?
We had 2 more maniacs doing maniac shit here. No necks were safe. This rocked also. I went 4.25.
I really enjoyed the moment when Mayu missed the slap in the corner and then was like, oh, I'm so crazy. Like, oh, gosh. I'm like, only Mayu could pull that off. If anyone else did that, you'd be like, what is this person doing? Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
But like, she can come out and be like, oh, I'm a crazy person. Let me try it again. I really like this. Tough following the previous match, which I thought was really good, but I thought that they worked really hard. I went 3.75. So a little bit lower than you, but a match I still thought was really good.
I was really pretty high on this whole show. I was living off the Barbenheimer high.
I mean, I will say that I would have to go back. I don't have this like encyclopedic memory of these things, but this has to be, if not number one, very close to the best opening night of the 5-Star Grand Prix they've ever had.
Yeah. I mean, it might not be, but the quality of this show leads me to say that it would be a pretty safe bet to say that this is the best one.
Like, now I'm trying to go through and see if I have my notes from
last year.
5-Star Grand Prix Night 1 from 2022. Yeah, well, yes, because last year I went 4 stars on Suri Azumi, and I went 4.25 on Hazuki and Julia in the main event.
Oh yeah, that match ruled.
And I think that was it. I think those were the only
Yeah.
4+ star matches that I had on the show, if I'm not mistaken. Which means this, I mean, we haven't even gotten to my favorite match of the night
Yeah.
for this one. So, yeah. I mean, and I would have to think, I couldn't even tell you, like, what was the opening night of the 2017 5-star Grand Prix. I have no idea. Probably, what's her face? Was that 2017? From Ring of Honor. Uh,
Mandy Leon.
Mandy Leon, thank you. Was that year? Was that 2017 where she
I don't
beat
know.
you?
I was trying to think of a Ring of Honor woman.
Because she was in it. I mean, that right there, you're like guaranteed a bad match.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd have to go back. Other people listening to this, tell me what you think. In my mind, it's the best opening night they've ever had, but maybe someone has a night that they're thinking of that's better, that I'm not thinking of. But anyway, speaking of very good, my favorite match of the show was next. Julia and Sariano going to a 15-minute time limit draw. Kelly, what can you say about this match?
Just wild. The suplex off the ramp into the chairs, doing the old Taz and Bam Bam Bigelow spot was insane. Just a crazy brawl. The accidental blood really stepped it up a notch. Like, shit, this match was awesome. This was also my favorite match of the night. I went 4.5 on this one too.
Well, here's how good I thought this match was. That I figured out before the end that they were going to the time limit draw, and I still went 4.75 stars.
Nice.
I just thought it was like crazy. The blood was the stuff at the beginning was so good. The blood was great. They got in the ring. They're like beating the shit out of each other. I was like, this is so good. Just like the perfect, big time. And again, only 15 minutes, like flew by. So another one of the people like Suzu, who I'm like is gonna come out, and I think try and have big matches. Obviously, there's this, big one with Julia, which is gonna be big for everyone. But I think she's gonna have a lot of good matches too. But this was just like two people who, very felt a lot like the big Oz Academy show, the yearly show that they have, where they're like, we're going to go out and we're going to have a really big main event. Like the rest of the show could be like, oh, okay, all these tag matches are fine. And then they're like, we're going to go out in the main event and it's going to be Osaki. And, there was that year it was Ozaki and Sayori, and they had that crazy fight. And it felt sort of like that, where it's like, we're just going to go out there, we're going to beat the shit out of each other, whatever happens, let's just do it. And it's great. They have the post match with, the camera like zooming in on Sayori with her face still got like crusted blood on it. So I just thought match of the night for me, very easily. And I don't know. I mean, it's only night one. It's going to be hard to top in the rest of the tournament, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, to top it, you got to have a match, a surefire top match of the year contender.
I think you have a couple opportunities. I think Julia and Suri could get up there possibly, and Julia and Suzu. I think those are your two options of ones that could possibly top it.
I also think you're going to have some bigger, some of these shows you're going to be like, okay, it's 3 matches, we'll go out, we'll do our things. And then some will be in bigger venues, and those probably have a bigger chance of, getting up there. But not to, and I don't say that to be like, oh, nothing will ever be as good as this, but just that this match was like right up my alley, so good.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Sayori has like the most absorbent hair I've ever seen because like the top of her head kept getting redder and redder, but she didn't really leave any spots on the ring. I thought that was impressive.
Well, it wasn't
Got
really in
good
the
hair.
rest of her hair. It wasn't in the rest of her hair either.
Yeah, it just like, but every now and then you would just like you see like, oh, top of her head's getting redder now.
Well, I didn't even see
just,
what happened. Like,
I think she just got clipped on one of the chairs when she got thrown into him.
I guess I was just sort of watching. Then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, she's bleeding. I was like, I must have missed something. And I rewound and I was still like, okay, I don't know. I guess here she's not bleeding. Here she's bleeding. So something happened.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that when she got tossed into the chairs, one just must have flipped up and hit her in the top of the head.
Yeah, and it was funny because I thought when they did it, I was like, oh, that's a pretty, they sort of went straight on to the chairs. I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Considering sometimes, you do a move with chairs and the chairs are like all over the place and you're like, oh, gee, oh gosh. Like that, I was like, okay, all the chairs cooperated. And then she comes up and she's bleeding all over the place. So I'm like, well, I guess I was wrong. The main event and the point in which this show became very chaotic. The main event, Tom Nakano defeating Saya Kamatani in 8 minutes and 15 seconds by referee's decision. Sort of a weird match to discuss. I did think when the match started, I was thinking, how are they going to follow that last match? Like, that's a tough ask. And I thought it was a actually good idea to sort of just be like, oh, well, we're going to go outside the ring and just do this sort of wild stunt show type match, jumping off the entrance way, very like CMLL-esque, I thought there. And then they were doing it more, and I actually was writing in my notes, I wrote, just jump off higher and higher things for a whole match. Like, do that. And then I looked back, and they're like, the doctor! Get the doctor in here. The doctor's running over, and I was like, what the heck? Like, did I miss something? Because I had seen the dive. I was like, okay, that's a dive. And then they were calling, and I thought, is this like part of the match? And which at a point it became clearly wasn't part of the match. But of course, sort of a bummer to have a match end that way. I don't think there's been any further news about exactly what happened.
Last I heard was a dislocated elbow, I think.
Okay, interesting. Because I thought it had been something with the head just because of the way it was like a dive. And then when I was sort of watching, I was like, well, she sort of bent over. But I don't know. But anyway, whatever it is, I'm not a doctor. Hope Saya Kamatani gets well soon. Hope she's able to, depending on what it is, hope she's able to come back for the rest of her matches, because it would be a bummer to lose her for the what essentially would be the entire tournament.
Yeah. If it is a dislocated elbow, she is definitely out for the rest of the tournament.
Well, it's a long tournament. It's going like 2.5 months. But I feel like if you're out, like you can't come back in with like 3 shows left, and like, what's the point?
Yeah, I would sit her for the rest of the tournament at that point. But yeah, no, this was a bummer because I really liked this match until the finish, and it's a shame, especially to see someone go down hurt at the beginning of a tournament like this, and it's a bummer. I hope Saya heals up soon. And then we got the post match angle, which sure was fucking weird.
If that wasn't enough, if you didn't think, wow, this show is, what a strange ending to this show, Megan Bain appeared. Beyond Wrestling star, AEW Dark participant, Megan Bain, aka the Megasis, appeared. A word so strange that I typed Megasis 3 times on my computer. Each time the computer corrected it to Pegasus, um, would not allow me to type the word Megasis. But eventually I got there. Just very like I found the whole thing really weird.
It felt like, especially with the injury, it felt like the most tacked on ending to the show you could possibly have had. Like, why are we building title matches at the end of the first night of this tournament?
I mean, it's one of those things where I think we talked about this last year that we also didn't like. I don't really understand the point of, we'll talk about this in a bit. Stardom still is running a huge number. Take out all of the 5-star shows or shows that have 5-star Grand Prix matches on them. In August, they have like 4 big shows, 3 or 4, maybe not big shows, but 3 or 4 sort of shows that are not mainly 5-star shows. And it's just very strange. Like, if I'm in this tournament, I'm thinking, wait a minute, like Saria, no, sitting backstage, thinking I was just bleeding all over the place. I'm beating the shit out of Julia. We're doing all this fighting. And then this person just walks up and goes, I want a title match. It's like, wait a minute. We're all doing this tournament for a title match. Like, get in line. You missed the tournament. You got to wait 2 months. And I do think you're right. I think the injury, going from the injury directly into this, it was like whiplash of like,
Yes.
oh, I hope Saya's okay. And then all of a sudden you're like, what's happening? What's going on? Was also very weird, but just the whole, like, Utami then came out, challenged Mayu for the IWGP Women's title. That one's fine. I'm like, okay, Utami's back. She went to America. She comes out. She challenges Mayu for this title that happens on Strong and happens on New Japan shows. That one is fine. Just is incredibly weird to be like, I'm here and I'm, challenging for the title. Oh, who are you? Like, who are you?
Yeah. And it's like,
Like,
why did the Utami thing with Mayu have to happen there? Like, just, okay, now we just have to awkwardly bring Mayu out for this too, just because suddenly we're in the opening sequence of a episode of Raw at the end of this show for some reason.
um, yeah, just very weird. I have seen, admittedly, very little of Megan Bain. I think I've seen her on AEW Dark a few times. I know she was injured for a long time. I may have seen her at one other match. So we'll see. But
I was very high on her as a prospect early on in the Beyond stuff, but after her getting injured, and she honestly pissed away a lot of her goodwill with her relationship with Chris Dickinson.
oh, see,
So
I
yeah,
didn't even know about that.
yeah, that's not great. Uh, so we'll see how it goes.
But we'll see. We were just talking about Mariah May earlier in the show that we didn't know anything about her, and now look. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, what else has been going on in Stardom? They did have a Summer North tour before the start of the 5-star Grand Prix, but the other big tournament that kicked off in the past 2 weeks, the Tokyo Princess Cup. The first round matches have all happened there. The results are as follows. Mocha Miyamoto, in what I would consider a minor upset, defeating Hyper Misao. Miyu Yamashita managing to get past the first round of a tournament, defeating Mizuki. Shoko Nakajima defeating Suzume. Rika Tatsumi defeating Raku. Yuki Kamifuku defeating Nao Kakuta, Miyu Watanabe defeating Yuki Aeno, Arisa Endo defeating Mahiro Kiryu, and Yuki Arai defeating Hikari Noah. Kelly, did you watch these first round matches?
I sure did. Did you?
I did as well. I watched
All right.
watched them all.
I think Miyu and Mizuki was really good, and I think probably my second favorite match was Yuki Arai versus Hikari. Thought that was really good too. I went 4 stars on both of those.
I thought, strangely, I have these here also with their cage match ratings. A match that did poorly in the cage match ratings. I liked Yuki Kamifuku and Nao Kakuta. I thought it was a very enjoyable match. Nothing here. I think Kelly, you'd probably agree. Well, maybe the two 4-star matches you had, but not really super on the level of maybe a 5-star Grand Prix, but enjoyable. Very quick action. They had 2 shows a night for 4 shows and set up some pretty interesting matches for the next round, which we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah, I think like the matches were hurt just by the vibes of the shows. They were very sleepy. They were very sleepy feeling shows.
Well, they
like
still
it didn't
feel
help that
like
it's single cam and stuff, and it's just like, oh, guys, you're losing me. My eyes are getting heavy.
it would be interesting to see if they did something like Stardom and they were like, we're going to do one bigger show, like if this were a Korakuen, and they were like, we're going to do a Korakuen and it's going to have 8 singles matches on it. If that, like, maybe it wouldn't draw. I don't know. But if you did the show and you main evented with Miyu and Mizuki, like, I would think that would draw.
Yeah, you could definitely fill Kurikan with that for sure.
To me, it just I do see what you're saying. It does feel a little bit on these shows like it's like, hey, we've got these house shows. Okay, we'll do 2 Tokyo Princess Cup. Whereas the next round is at Korakuen and they're all gonna feel like much bigger deals. Like, I don't know, maybe you don't want to do 8 matches because then all of a sudden all the people who aren't in the tournament aren't getting bookings for that show. Don't know. Who's to say? What else has been going on? Sendai Girls had their Korakuen Hall show on the 16th. Ice Ribbon, some big news out of Ice Ribbon. Hamako Hoshi and Makoto retained their tag titles over Hikari Manami and Hinata, but Yuri from Ganbare defeating Totoro Satsuki to become the new Ice Infinity title holder. She will defend that title in Ganbare in what I believe I read will be the first time that title will be defended between 2 non-Ice Ribbon wrestlers on a non-Ice Ribbon show.
Wow, that's cool.
Which is pretty interesting, and they are, Ganbare is picking up steam, Yuri is picking up steam, so a company like Ice Ribbon, which has hit some bumps in the road recently, doing something different, I think it's a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah, no, that's smart. I like Yuri. I think she's very good. I think she keeps getting better, and I like Ganbare a lot. So I think this is a cool move all around.
Diana had Jaguar Yokota's 47th anniversary. To my knowledge, the show did not air anywhere, not even on the Diana streaming service that they have. The main event, Aja Kong, Jaguar Yokota, and Sugi went up against Mayumi Ozaki, Kyoko Inoue, and Astro Man in the main event. Who knows? Maybe that show will appear someday because it had some pretty fun matches on it, and I'd like to watch it. But maybe it'll never show up. Maybe it'll be like that Aja Kong Sari match from many years ago that never showed up. Thank you for encapsulating my feelings on it without having to say
I know. Every now and then I keep thinking, I'm like, someday someday it's gonna pop up. Someone's gonna be like, "Oh, I filmed the whole thing on my phone. Here you go.
I bec-
I didn't know
I
people
bec-
were looking for this."
I become very zen about the whole thing because like the 3 months after it was revealed, there was that like picture of the match, and everyone was like, "Where's the footage?" And I was like, oh my god," because I think that was the year I might have voted Seri Wrestler of the Year, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Boy, if
that
this
was
match
during
comes
her
out."
crazy year.
Yeah, and I was like, if this is as good as everyone says it is, this will be like the cement, like this will cement it. And then it never came out, and I was like driven crazy. Now I'm like, it doesn't exist. Like out
Well,
of
and the
sight,
worst
out
thing
of
is there's
mind.
highlights. Highlights are there. They exist. Someone has. Like the what's the wrestling news show in Japan?
Oh,
Battleman?
uh, yeah.
Yeah, they have the footage, or they had it at one point. Release the tapes.
I just think in my mind, it doesn't exist.
Can we do a Freedom of Information Act thing?
I don't think we can because that's an American thing, and that's Japan. Does Japan have an
We're friends.
equivalent
We're friends with
freedom of
them.
information? Yeah. Talk to Joe Biden about getting
Yeah.
Aja Kong versus Seri footage released.
Look. I watched Oppenheimer.
Don't
Things have
spoil.
happened
Don't spoil
before.
it. I haven't seen it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I won't tell you anything more then.
I haven't seen it.
All I'm gonna say is something real bad happens in Japan.
In Wave, the Catch the Wave tournament came to an end in the finals. Asuka defeating Saki to win the whole thing. Kelly, what's been going on in Choco Pro?
All right. So Choco Pro, they had the Gotta Move show at Shinkiba on the 5th. That was main evented by the Super Asia title match with Emi Sakura defeating Hagane Shino to win the title. Really great match, fast-paced, hard-hitting. I went 4.25 on it. Then we have Choco Pro 320 from the 9th. The match I wanted to highlight here was Emi Sakura defeating Nonaka Seto, who is their new rookie that I am super impressed with. I think she's got something there. She's way farther along as a technical wrestler than I would ever expect from anyone at her experience level. And she just put in a really great effort here against Sakura. I think Nonaka is definitely someone to keep an eye on. I went 3.5 on that. Definitely worth checking out if you want to see this new Choco Pro rookie. On the Choco Pro 321 on the 11th, there was the Super Asia title and setup open weight title match between Emi Sakura and Masahiro Takanashi. That went into a 30-minute time limit draw, and honestly, I thought this match was long and boring, but newsworthy, I guess, because it was a title match. And then on Choco Pro 322 on the 22nd, you had Meisuruga, Sayaka, and Chiyoko Shikawa defeating Emi Sakura, Miya Yatsuba, and Nonaka Seto. Super high energy trios match. And like I said before, just the more I see of Nonaka, the more I'm impressed and think they have something with her. I went 4 stars on that one.
Well, I had the privilege of going to GCW's most recent show in New York, which featured some Joshi talent. First of all, Maki Ito took on Billy Starks in a match that I thought was very good. I went 4.25 stars.
Damn.
But more than the match, I just have to say it is insane to me how over Maki Ito is in GCW. She was at the show, for my money, the most over person on the entire show.
It's like she's got her own like overness to her, but then she also has the Nick Gage rub. So it's like with that crowd, it makes sense why she's the most over person.
Well, and the show was at the Melrose Ballroom in New York, which has on the stage a giant video screen, which they use throughout the night. But for Maki's entrance, so she's using For Whom the Bell Tolls, which
Yep.
is Gage's entrance in GCW. And when the bell at the beginning hit, all the lights in the place turned red and the word Maki came up on the screen like in huge letters, and it was like huge pop from the crowd, and I was like, holy shit. It was like, what? I was like, what? um and then it shows Maki Death Kill in like these big red letters, which were also reflected like on the ceiling of the venue. And I was like, this is wild. Like, as someone who really likes Maki Ito, it's just like crazy. Like, people are like, yeah, we're into this. And then they had this match I thought was really good. You know, they had some fun with it. But then I thought they both worked really hard. You know, I love that match. I think the best match of the night was the match right after it, which was Yoshihiko wrestling Speedball, where they did a
Oh, that's right.
full
I need to watch that.
they do a full homage to Omega and Osprey, with Mao playing the part of Don Callis, um, which I didn't understand at first because he came out wearing a bald cap, and I was like, what is he? Why is he here? And then like in the match, I was like, I
Mao
got it.
loves
But
dressing up like other people.
but other than that match, I thought this Maki and Billy match was by far one of the highlights of the show. The main event of the show was Utami's last match in GCW, taking on Lufisto. And I have to say, I haven't seen her live, Utami. I haven't seen Utami live in 4 years, since she was here in New York for the WrestleMania weekend where they did the Stardom show. And I forgot, you know, like when you watch basketball, for example, everyone who plays basketball is 6 feet tall or much taller than that. But because they're all that tall, you watch them on TV and you're like, oh, they're all normal, you know, size guys. And then you meet them in real life and they're like the biggest person you've ever met. Um, in that way, Stardom is the opposite of that, where they're all the same size. So you're like, oh, they're all the same size as I am. Utami is very small, um, like shockingly small, but not small in the way that Utami, or in the way that Maki Ito. Like Maki Ito is short. You're like, oh, she's really short. She's like 4'11" or whatever she is. Utami looks like someone who is the same size as me, and then they sort of like shrunk her down with a shrink ray. Where like from far away you're like, oh, that's a person, but then you're like, no, she's just really small. Um, it was just sort of very interesting, and watching the 5 Star show, you're like, yeah, and now she's back on the screen, and she looks like she could be 5'11", and she's not.
Mhm.
She's like 5'2". Um,
That's
or
wild. Because
or
yeah, it's
however
like
tall she is.
it's the same thing with how Himiko was, where you just assume she's this enormous monster, and she's like, I'm 5'7" or whatever.
Yeah, I think she was 5'8", because I think very early on in AEW, I was like, wouldn't it be fun if Himika came to AEW and she was like the big bruiser, like the big monster enforcer for someone? And then I looked it up and realized she's the same height as Britt Baker. Uh, and I was like, okay, well, I guess that sort of wouldn't play that well. But yeah, it's just very strange seeing someone you watch a lot and you have sort of an image in your mind, like in front of you, and you're like, oh, they're not what I thought. The match itself, I thought, was mostly fine. I thought Utami had fun. It was clear that Lufisto was going to lose because she was on offense for a lot of the first half of the match, clearly trying to make her look good before she um, took the loss. Not a match I would go out of your way to see, but it was fun to see her. Like I said, I haven't seen her um, in person. Well, maybe that's not true. No, it must be true. Um, did I see her when I went to Japan in 2019? I'd have to look this up. But either way, it's been since 2019. It's been 4 years. Good to see her. And I'm hopeful that maybe GCW can book some more Stardom talent because I think that would be fun. The crowd was clearly really happy to see her. Um, so yeah, good show, but definitely check out that Maki and Billy Starks match. So what is coming up in the next 2 weeks of Stardom? Well, we got more 5-star Grand Prix action. We have uh, 4 more nights of 5-star Grand Prix action. Not full cards, but just a couple of matches a show on the 29th of July. 3 matches, Sayori Ono versus Mariah May, Julia versus Hanan, and Mirai versus Mina Shirakawa. On the 30th, Saya Kamatani versus Natsuko Tora, Suzu Suzuki versus Natsupoi, and Mirai versus Hanan. On August 5th, Sayori Ono versus Maika, Suzu Suzuki versus Starlight Kid, and Mirai versus Azumi. And on August 6th, Tam Nakano and Hazuki, Sayori and Natsuko Tora, Sayori Ono and Azumi, and Mina Shirakawa and Hanan. Kelly, what's your most anticipated match of the next 2 weeks of the 5-star Grand Prix?
I mean, it's gotta be Siri versus Natsuko Tora, right? No, it's not. It's not. It's Suzu versus Starlight Kid.
Oh, you took mine. You took mine again.
All right, fine. I'll go.
No, I'll
Sayori
change.
versus
I'll change.
Mariah May. I already changed.
Okay,
Too
well,
late.
Well, I'm going to say Sayori Ono versus Azumi.
Okay.
Also noticing Sayori Ono getting the booking out of the way fast because she will have 5 matches in 5 nights, and this thing goes all the way to October. So
this is gonna be one of those where we're gonna look at the scores and we're like, why does this person only have 2 points? And we're like, oh wait, they only wrestled the one match.
yeah. Oh, this person has 8 points and this person has none. That person's out. Oh no, that person's had 0 matches so far, or 1 match. And if you're sitting here thinking, boy, four shows, I wish there were more shows. Well, good news. 2 weeks after this, I guess I'm spoiling our next episode. There will be, I believe, 5 nights of the 5-star Grand Prix and 3 other Stardom shows. So you and we will have our fill of Stardom.
That's so much.
Seedling also has a show coming up. The big match there that stuck out to me, Riko Kaiju will take on Mio Momono in a singles match, so that should be exciting. Tokyo Joshi has a lot coming up, starting with their next pay-per-view, which will be Amusement Park Wrestling. Participating in the show will be Mizuki, Rika Tatsumi, Hyper Masao, Yuki Aino, Yuki Kamafuku, Nao Kakuta, Hikari Noa, Miyu Watanabe, Raku, Suzume, Arisa Endo, Moka Miyamoto, Palm Harajuku, Mahiro Kiryu, Kaya Toribami, and Yuki Arai. The rules are all contestants will be divided into 2 teams, a red team and a white team, and compete in street wrestling and games at an athletic amusement park. The winning team will receive a gorgeous prize.
Man, I don't want anything to do with an athletic amusement park.
Yeah, that also tripped me up. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, get the fuck out of here with making me do athletic shit. I'm at the amusement park. I want to just shove a corn dog in my mouth and watch people ride a roller coaster or something.
You can go on the roller coaster, but after you get off, you have to then pull the next car up the lift hill in order to go on to other things.
Yeah. Show me some fish. I'm not doing any push-ups.
Then on the 29th, Tokyo Joshi has their next Korakuen Hall show that will feature the next round of the Tokyo Princess Cup, but also on that show, Juria Nagano and Kaya Toribami will take on Himawari and Wakana Uehara. Hyper Masao, Nao Kakuta, and Yuki Aino will take on Palm Harajuku, Haru Naneko, and Mahiro Kiryu. Mizuki has drawn the babysitting duties for this show, teaming with Haru Kawashiro, Toga, and Runa Okuba to take on a large portion of the Up Girls and then Suzume. Hikari Noa, Raku, Shino, Suzuki,
Shino.
and Suzume. And then the 4 Tokyo Princess Cup matches. Miyu Yamashita versus Moka Miyamoto, Rika Tatsumi versus Shoko Nakajima, Yuki Kamafuku versus Miyu Watanabe, and Ariso Endo versus Yuki Arai. Kelly, give me the 4 names that will be making it to the next round.
Okay. I'm going Rika Tatsumi. I'm going Miyu Watanabe. Yuki Arai. And in a stunning upset, Moka Miyamoto.
That's a pretty good. I think that's what I would guess. I think Yuki Arai and Miyu Watanabe definitely make it through.
Yeah.
Rika and
Tatsumi
Shoko.
and Nakajima is a toss-up.
Yeah, I think it could go to Shoko. And I'm like, how? Because part of me is like, yeah, Mocha could win, but I could easily see it being like, oh, Miyu won.
Yeah.
But here's a question, and I have to look at the. I don't know who's on what. I've lost track of who's on what side. Are Miyu and Miyu on the same side? Do you know of the bracket?
I don't recall.
I'm trying to find a picture of the bracket. Because that was the big match last year. So I'm like, are they okay? So the winner of Miyu and Mocha will take on the winner of Rika and Shoko. The winner of Yuki and Endo will take on the winner of Miyu and Yuki Kamafuku. Because am I misremembering? The semifinal match was Miyu that she beat, and then she lost to Yuka, right?
Let me look back at my notes.
Last year, am I remembering that? I think that's right, but now I'm doubting myself. Like the 2 back-to-back nights. I think I'm right. So maybe I guess
the
that
finals.
isn't...
No, the finals was the finals was the Yuka match. The Miyu versus Miyu was
the semis.
The semis.
Where she won. Okay, never mind.
Yep.
Disregard everything I've just been thinking. I had them reversed in my mind, and then I was like, no, that's wrong. But anyway, should be a good show. Ice Ribbon has a show coming up on the 30th, which will see the one-night return of Tsukasa Fujimoto doing a talking segment with the also returning Mizaki Ohata, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And I hope the talking segment ends with them both agreeing to come back to wrestling.
Now, is this a talk segment or a talk battle?
I don't know if they've called it a talk battle. I think the verbiage I saw was talk show.
Okay. I hope they get a fun set then.
But I don't remember. I don't know that it's a talk battle, but I hope that, like I said, Misaki Ohata, one of my favorite Joshi wrestlers of all time, and I hope she returns. I know that she retired because she had a child.
Stupid kids.
That's right. But I can always hope. Hope beyond hope. Unlike with that Aja Kong Seri match, where I have no hope. Now I'm trying to find the announcement of Oh, wait a minute. Wait, she's going to be in a match. Okay. Whoop.
More than a talk battle.
It has been announced will
battle
be
battle.
returning to the ring only for this match for the time being. Tsukasa Fujimoto, Kahu Matsuhita, and Aja Kong versus Chihiro Hashimoto, Hamaka Hoshi, and Ibuki Hoshi. All right.
Wow.
That's interesting. I don't know. Oh, yeah, here it is. It has been okay. It has been announced that the guest for Tsukasa Fujimoto's talk show segment at the 7:30 event in Rifu will be her former tag partner Mizaki Ohata. This is from the Facebook Ribbon group. Very useful, very informative Facebook group for fans of Ice Ribbon. So talk show segment is the language they use, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. I mean, and she is having a real battle, so she doesn't need to have a talk battle. She can just have a talk segment.
Also coming up, Wave has a tag title match. Itsuki Aoki and Ukito Hidaka will take on Hikari Shimizu and Ayame Sasamura. Kelly, what is coming up in the world of Gato Move and Choco Pro?
On August 6th, we've got a Shinkiba show, 4 aces. So far, 2 matches announced. Mei Suruga taking on Miya Yatsuba, and Chie Koshikawa taking on Nonako Seto. So it kind of looks like 2 challenge matches for their most recent rookies. And then looking a little ahead on the September 19th, this is actually a DDT show. We've got Masahiro Takanashi's 20th anniversary show. Just announced, perhaps my most anticipated match coming up. Mei Suruga takes on Minoru Suzuki. Hell yeah. That match is going to be great.
A match that got a lot of hype, even outside the world of Joshi wrestling. So that one, I think at the very least, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That whole show should probably be fun, because I think the main event is Takanashi versus Brooks, so that should be cool. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of other fun stuff on there.
But that is everything that is coming up in the next 2 weeks of Joshi. Kelly, I'm throwing it over to you for your usual segment, as if I have to guess what your movie recommendation for this week will be.
We talking about Barbie. Have you seen it?
I'm seeing it tomorrow.
Oh, hell yeah. It is so great. I have not stopped thinking about it since I saw it. It's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in theaters. I can't recommend it highly enough. Oppenheimer was good too.
An easy recommendation this week from Kelly, but that is all from us on this week's episode of Jumping Bomb Audio. For Kelly, I am Taylor, and we will see you again in 2 weeks' time.
Catch you on the Zeets.
Hi, my name is Tyler Fornes, and I am the co-host of The Good, the Bad, and the Hunky here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Every week, my co-host Fred Moreland and I discuss all the happenings of All Elite Wrestling and everything going on in the universe of Tony Khan. We talk about Dynamite, we talk about Rampage, and we will talk about Collision when the time comes as well, along with all the appearances outside of AEW from all the best talents in All Elite Wrestling. This is one of the more cohesive wrestling companies in the entire world, and we discuss every intricacy about it, including the unique booking of Tony Khan that is both a huge positive and a major detriment. Check us out every single Thursday here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
Hello there, everybody. It's me, Garrett Kidney, the co-host of You've Got to Be Kidding Me on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
And I am Liam Jones, my full name, and I'm also a part of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network as a co-host for You've Got to Be Kidding Me.
We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. We cover all the drama, all the matches, all the Vince Russo nonsense you could ever want in your life.
Have you heard of TNA? I bet you have, but would it be funnier if two people made jokes over it the whole time? Probably.
So if that sounds like fun to you, check it out on this very Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network, and Liam will do bits and whatnot.